A few of you have managed to see the notification and have joined. Thank you for taking the time to join the show today. I'm going to talk to you this evening about some of my early career mistakes and how you can avoid them in your career. And I'm just going to get my notes up. Hopefully. Okay, awesome. All right, so hello everyone, welcome. Thank you for joining me. Just a quick heads up to start with. The event did say 7 till 8. It's not going to take a whole hour. I'm not going to take up a whole hour of your time. Probably be more like 20 to 30 minutes. So you'll see that there's a section on the right of your screen, I think it is, for questions and comments, for a chat. Please, if you've got any questions or comments during the presentation, just leave them in there. And I'll try to figure out how to access them towards the end of the presentation, and I'll answer any questions or go over any comments. And so I'll start by telling you just a little bit about me for those who don't know me. A lot of you probably already do, but for those who don't, I'll tell you a bit about my background. And then I'm going to jump straight into the 3 early career mistakes that I made and how you can avoid them in your career. And I'll let you know how to contact me. If you did want to talk to me about your career, feel free to use that link and make a booking. It's already in the chat. I'm pretty sure I pinned it to the top. If not, you should see the first comment from me with a link to being able to book a time in my calendar to chat. So please feel free to do that if you want to. Okay, so a bit of an intro about me. I'm Dan, for those of you who don't know me, and I've been working in the defense industry for about 20 years now. And I kind of feel, or I consider that I've had a bit of a non-traditional career path. So I started out as an apprentice aircraft maintenance engineer, avionics. And I started out in military aviation training, so flight simulators. And then throughout my career, I've done more education. I completed my bachelor's degree. I did a Bachelor of Business whilst I was working full-time. So I did that part-time while I worked. And I'm still studying. So right now, I am almost finished my MBA. I should be graduating at the end of this year. So throughout the years, I have held lots of technical roles. And since about 2017, from memory, I've been in senior management and executive roles. So during my time in my career to date, I've been mentoring others in my previous roles. And I've really enjoyed doing that, and I really get a kick out of helping people get past their roadblocks and figure out what they want to do and how to get there. It's really rewarding for me personally and fulfilling. So if anyone wants to have a chat one-on-one, use a link. Yeah, whenever you feel like it. All right, so enough about me telling you about myself and feeling good about myself. Let's get straight into the career mistakes that I made and how you can prevent yourself from making the same mistakes that I did. Okay, so my first mistake was I didn't know what I valued. So I was working at the Super Hornet Simulator training center here in Australia, it was a highly prestigious project within the defense community. And so aviation in general is a prestigious environment. But then fast jets like the Super Hornet are really considered the pinnacle of defense aviation. And I was part of a team that was providing support to the training systems that would train the highest caliber pilots within the Royal Australian Air Force. So we were supporting, as a team, the newest, shiniest, most high-tech. It was the best piece of kit in the Air Force at the time. And for me, it really felt like I was part of the in crowd. So I was one of 7 simulation technicians that was hired to the role. And I even got selected for that job over one of my former colleagues who had far more experience than I did. So I was pretty happy about that. On top of that, I got a pretty significant pay rise when I took that role at the time. And so I was feeling pretty good about myself. I was pretty chuffed, to be honest. So at this stage, I was still pretty early on in my career. It was pretty early on, but I held myself in high regard. I really thought that I was quite good, and I thought highly of myself in general. So then after I had been in this role for around about 12 months, I was starting to get a little bit annoyed with the lack of career progression opportunities at this particular workplace. And I voiced this concern to some of my friends and my frustrations and kind of try to solicit some advice from my mates at the time. And there's one specific conversation that I distinctly remember having with a friend of mine, and he worked at the investment bank UBS, and I was complaining about not being financially rewarded for what I considered to be high levels of skills and high levels of capability. So he simply suggested that if I wanted to be recognized, especially financially recognized, for my skills and abilities, that I should consider trying to make a move into the financial industry where he worked, as in his opinion, this was the best place to get that kind of recognition that I was seeking. So I listened to that I thought about it, but really I didn't really give it that much consideration. I kind of, without actively doing it, I kind of dismissed that advice. I was already in a cool, high status role in a great industry, and why would I want to change that? So what I didn't realize at the time within myself was that what I said I wanted and the actions that I took, they didn't line up. I said one thing and, it just didn't align with the actions that I was taking towards my career. So I was saying that I wanted financial recognition, but I never gave a second thought to changing roles or industries. In hindsight, I was far too concerned with appearances and status to make the move that would have put me in a better financial position. So I wanted, foolishly, I wanted the world to change to suit me, not the other way around. And so now, obviously, I know that I have to change to suit the world or the environment in order to get what I want. And I even felt a sense of resentment. Like, it's very strange, but I felt a sense of resentment towards the company that I worked for being so short-sighted as not to give me exactly what I wanted. I thought it was all a problem with them, and I was perfect. Or the problems weren't with me; they were definitely with the company. So for me, the take-home lesson from that whole situation is that you really need to have a super clear understanding of what values you have and how they are driving your behavior. As you just heard, I was saying one thing and doing another. I thought I knew what I wanted, which was financial recognition. That's what I kept talking about. But my actions clearly showed what I truly valued and what I truly wanted, which was status and comfort. So my underlying fear of change drove me to want to stay where I was, and my desire for status cemented my actions to remain there for a fair time. So the key issue here for me was that I didn't actually know that these values were driving my behavior. And I was definitely lacking a whole lot of self-awareness, which is something that I've been working to improve ever since. And so the lesson here, if you're in a similar situation, is you really need to know what you value. Don't just think you know, like I did. So practicing self-reflection and improving on your self-awareness as early in your career as you can. You should really do that. It will pay dividends. It'll pay dividends outside of work as well. Being self-aware is, in my opinion, one of the most underrated characteristics. And working to define personal values is often one of the first things I work on with my coaching clients. It really helps set the scene for how we're going to progress. Okay, so any questions, comments, please leave them in the chat. I'll get to them at the end if I can figure out how to do that. All right, so my second mistake, and this is a big one, not caring about soft skills. So early on in my career, at the same workplace as that last story that I just told, I was laser focused on being the absolute best technical performer in the team. I spent hours and hours reading and learning and trying to understand every technical detail, and I'm putting those skills and that knowledge into practice every day. And I took every opportunity to hone my technical skills to the point where I became the go-to guy for everyone on the team if there was a complex fault that arose in the system. So to say that I didn't concentrate on soft skills would be putting it politely. I essentially dismissed them as unimportant. And so now that I was the king of technical skills on the team, who needs soft skills, right? That's what I thought. Then an opportunity to get promoted came up, and I was absolutely sure that I was going to get it. I'd already kind of sold myself. I pictured myself, yep, they're going to just hand it to me. So then when I lost out to a far less skilled colleague on my team, I was genuinely shocked. I was taken aback. I was floored to see that someone else who was, in my head at least, inferior to me in every way, and they still got the job over me. And it really upset me. And I didn't understand it at the time. Fortunately, I was clever enough to ask for some feedback. And I asked indignantly, you might say, why I wasn't the successful candidate. And they had a really simple answer for me. And it was, yes, you're the most technically skilled person on the team. Great. But that's not what this role requires. It's a supervisory role that needs more than just technical skills. You need people skills. And so I guess I didn't take that feedback all that well, because I still thought I was the best person for the role. But yeah, it was clear that my one-eyed bias towards hard skills got me the exact opposite of what I actually wanted. I forged down the path of becoming the best technician when I didn't really even want to be a technician. I wanted to advance beyond that. So I credit this mistake, if that's the right word, to my desire to be self-driven and not seek advice or help from anyone or from anyone else when I was planning for my career. And calling it a career plan is probably being generous. Again, I wouldn't call what I had in my head a real plan. It was just an expectation rather than a plan. So for this second mistake, the key message is that I don't want to put hard skills down. Hard skills are essential and they're very important, and they get you hired. Hard skills will get you the job, the first job. But soft skills is where you get promotions. That's how you can advance your career more quickly than if you go just for the hard skills. So work on your soft skills as early as you can in your career, and it will yield some of the highest return on investment possible in terms of personal and skill development for the workplace. So identifying opportunities to practice and hone your soft skills is often, for most of my clients, a central part of the coaching that I provide to them, along with timely advice and feedback as those opportunities are arising and as they're taking those opportunities to try and hone their skills. And doing it is the best way of honing your skills. Get in there, do it. Okay, so just a reminder, any comments or questions, please leave them in the chat, and yep, we'll address those at the end. So onto my third and final for tonight mistake. Don't be fooled. I made much more than 3 mistakes, but I only wanted to talk about 3 tonight, and I didn't want to keep people here too long, and I didn't want it to go for too long. So these are just 3 important mistakes that I made, not the only 3. So my third big mistake was being too rigid in how I thought about my career. So a couple of years later, after those last 2 stories, I had moved companies, but I was still in a technical role. And I chose to move for what I thought were greater opportunities, as the new company that I moved to was bigger in the simulation space. And to me, that meant more opportunities. I also kind of have to admit that it appealed to me strongly as a more technically focused business in that particular field, which, going back to the previous mistake, was obviously a strong bias of mine, and it really drove some of my decision making. Kind of subconsciously, I wasn't fully aware of that was the reason why I was making those things at the time. I'm much more aware of it now. So at the new workplace, I was doing well. I'd once again become the go-to guy for technical problems. And fortunately, I guess for me, I had learnt at least a bit from my early mistake that got me passed over for a promotion. And I was actively seeking out and taking every opportunity that I could find to display my soft skills and work on them and put them into practice. So I volunteered for projects from the simple, like doing the monthly rostering, to some more complicated things like software development programs and some change management projects. So I was sure at the time that this would paint me in the best light to be considered for the next step, which in my head was a logical move into the maintenance manager role on site. So the people that I spoke to within the business agreed this was an obvious and great next step for my career. And my manager also agreed, and I would be a worthy successor to him. So I was pretty stoked to hear this, I guess, validation or confirmation of what I'd already come up with in my head as the next step in my career. And it only seemed like a matter of time before I'd just waltz into my new promotion and life would be sweet. And I hadn't even considered what would come next, but it was just kind of one of those things where you go, well, once this happens, then I've got it made. Everything will be great. But then nothing happened. There were maintenance manager roles coming up on other sites in other cities within the same company, just not at my site in my city. My manager wouldn't retire or resign and wasn't being promoted. I was adamant at the time that I wanted to stay living where I was, and that I was a sure thing. I was a shoo-in for the maintenance manager role when it became available. I was so blinded by the obvious choice of being the maintenance manager at my site that I had I'd all but forgotten my "you should consider other industries" discussion with my friend that I talked about in the previous couple of stories. So changing industries or taking on a job anywhere else wasn't even on my radar. It wasn't part of my thinking process. I was fixated on what in my head was already mine. I'd already sold myself. It was already going to happen. The promotion to the maintenance manager at my site. And so this rigid way of thinking, it delayed my career progression by years. I don't know how many years, but several. And the sad end to that story is that I never got that maintenance manager role, ever. So those are the 3 mistakes. And this is the message, the take-home message, or the lesson, I think, from that third mistake, is being flexible will get you progression opportunities far quicker than being good. As I spoke about before, I was good. I thought I was great, but I didn't have the right kind of good that was going to get me where I wanted to go. And it wouldn't have mattered how good I was. If the opportunity doesn't come up, you're stuck where you're going to be until that opportunity that you want arises. So please consider moving teams, companies, industries, locations to get access to more opportunities and sooner. The more you spread your net, or the wider you cast your net and the wider you look, the more opportunities will exist. And you don't have to take all of them. You don't have to go after all of them. But the more that you can see, you can ascertain which ones you would like to go after, and you can pursue them. Don't get stuck like I did by getting fixated on a single opportunity that in the end wasn't an opportunity at all. So widening my clients' view of the world to new and diverse opportunities is part of the insights that I strive to bring to the attention of my clients and my mentees. All right, so as with all good things, I'll do a quick recap for those that may have missed the first few. So recapping quickly, the first mistake was that I didn't know what I truly valued, which led to some disappointments early on. So for you, know your values and be sure about them, really understand them. For my next mistake, I thought hard skills were the epitome of skills, which led to even more disappointments early on in my career. So hone your soft skills, practice them, get involved from the earliest stages of your career. You don't need to be in a manager or team leader role to practice your interpersonal skills. And my last mistake was that I was so rigid in my thinking that I passed on opportunities that would have progressed my career way quicker. So be as flexible as you can. I know there will be things that are showstoppers for everyone, but don't let everything be a showstopper like I did. Being rigid could get you stuck like I was. And I've helped my clients in all three of these areas and many more. And they're just a few examples of things to try and avoid if you can. And if you want to progress quickly, hopefully you can learn from others and not make all of your own mistakes. So if you're keen to explore these areas, feel free to get in touch with me, send me a DM, or there's a link in the chat where you can book in a time to chat with me. It'll create a Google Meet link, and I'll connect up with you on video, and you can tell me about anything you'd like to tell me about in your career, and I'll see if I can help you. Okay, so I am going to attempt to open the live session and see if I can find the comments. Let's see. Comments. Here we go. Comments. No. Good. Excellent. So no questions or comments in the chat. I hope I have the right thing open. You can probably see my screen. So that's all good. So I will quickly return back to the presentation. And I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who made the time to join my first live stream. Oh, there's some questions on the chat. Okay. I will have to figure out how to do that. Maybe I just need to refresh the page. Chat questions. Let's refresh. Okay, good. All right. Chat questions. Comments. Here we go. Okay. Sri, got your comment. Thank you. Okay, now I can see all of the questions now. Great. And I'm watching myself live. This is interesting. So, Courtney, thank you for the kind words. Rafi, can you explain more on soft skills? So soft skills are essentially people skills. It's how you work with others. It's how you interact with others, and it's how you manage people. And when I say manage people, I don't mean you're the manager and you're managing the people. I should probably swap that back so that it doesn't. There we go. Yeah, when I say manage people, I'll make that big. There we go. Yeah, when I say manage people, you don't need to be in a people management role to manage people. You can take on any project where you're in a team. There is a human element, and the soft skills are your ability to do things like explain your position and bring people on a journey with you. It's your ability to negotiate. It's your ability to compromise. And it's your ability to be the best person you can within that team while supporting everyone else to be the best people that they can be, which leads the team towards the greater outcome. Now, traditionally, you might say, well, that's the team leader's job, but it's not just the team leader's job. That's an opportunity for you to work on your soft skills. And the earlier you work on them, the more likely that you will be in the right position to end up in a people leadership role. And so working on them, even when it's not part of your job or it's not formally part of your title, is highly recommended in my opinion. And it works for every person that I work with. Okay, Jacob, thank you for the comments. Courtney as well, thank you. Jenny, thank you very much. Kate, can you elaborate more on mistake 3, on how you develop your soft skills, in particular, talking to more senior people and getting them on board with you? Great question. Awesome question. So it is a real skill to be able to both manage up and manage down. And so, Kate, when you talk about talking to more senior people, that's what is often called managing up. And managing up is knowing the right way to approach your interactions with those that are more senior than you, right? And so my go-to in that situation is understanding the more senior person's drivers. What do they want? What do they really want? What makes them tick? What can you give them that they will value? And I can tell you from personal experience that one of the easiest ways to effectively manage up is making the more senior person's life easier. Find a way to remove friction from their day-to-day job. So if that's as simple as finding something that they don't like doing and doing it for them before it happens, that's a good option. Another option is when you have to bring a problem to your manager or to someone more senior, don't just bring a problem. Bring a problem, bring multiple solutions, because there will be parts of the problem that you talk through, and you may think you have a great solution, but there will be things that you don't understand. So it's always good to have more than one solution or a few possible solutions, and always offer to say, look, I've got this problem. I've got a couple of ideas, this, and this. Let me know if I can go away and make that happen. And so the key there is just make their lives easier. Just think about it from your own point of view. If someone comes to you at work and they come to you with a problem, you're most likely to kind of go, oh, great, just another thing to do. Thanks. But if someone comes to you and said, hey, we experienced this issue and we've got a couple of ideas on how to get past it, think of how you would respond to that. You would say, great. Now, hopefully one of those is a good solution, and you can just say, yep, great, do that. Off you go. Awesome. Thank you very much. You've made my life easier. So making the other person's life easier is probably the easiest way to think about it in a process on how to interact with people, because the more easy you make someone's life, the more they will want to be around you, the more they will respect you, and the more you will be front of mind for when opportunities come up. And that personally happened with me. Okay, so I think we are done with comments and questions. Thank you everyone for the comments and questions. Sorry that I couldn't figure out how to do it straight up, first up, but I figured it out now. All right, so the last bit, no more questions, great. Oh, and Sri, comment. Pleasure to be here. Thank you for joining. I really appreciate it. Okay, so the last page is really just a thank you. And I just wanted to say thank you for taking the time on your Wednesday evening, or if you're joining from another country, your Wednesday morning probably. It's been really cool and interesting. I'm kind of just figuring stuff out as I go here, but I hope that some of you have got some value from this, and that my stories, my self-deprecating stories generally, give you some insights into the ways that I have approached my own career. Would not say that I've had the most amazing career and I haven't hit the most amazing sky highs, but I've been reasonably successful and I've learned a lot of things the hard way. So hopefully you can learn some things the easy way by learning from my mistakes today. And yeah, thank you so much for joining. I will see if I can figure out how to do the streaming stop now. Thank you, everyone. Stop.